Hello and welcome to Walking the Earth podcast. I'm Mike Margulies in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and today I'm joined by Damien Walter. What's up, man?
Hi Mike, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. It's another beautiful day in Chiang Mai.
Always a beautiful day in Chiang Mai. Have you seen that video?
Which one?
There's a video from Chiang Mai called It's a Good Day
There's
in
only
Chiang
one video.
Mai.
Oh, yeah.
It's a hip hop video. It's made by a young kid from San Francisco. He's a Thai kid.
Yeah.
He lived in San Francisco a lot of his life. He's into rap and hip hop. So he took the Ice-T song, I think it's just called It's a Good Day, and he made it in Chiang Mai. And there's a whole video
That's awesome.
of him and his friends on their scooters.
Just doing all the Chiang Mai things.
All the Chiang Mai things,
Oh, that's
eating cow
awesome.
soy, going to the university campus and the lake,
That
hanging
is
out.
awesome. I remember a video like that when I was living in the DC area. There was some video about like Washington DC. And it was that perfect. Like all the stereotypical things of Chiang Mai.
And it works so well for Chiang Mai because I didn't expect coming here that there would be so many cool kids. in Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole generation of Thai hipsters who've made this city their home.
That's-
And I had no idea that was going to be here. I love it. I love it.
That's awesome. What's that called? A day in the life of Chiang Mai?
It's a good day in
It's
Chiang
a good
Mai.
day in Chiang Mai. Sweet. I will have to check that one out. It's always a good day in Chiang Mai, I think. Yeah, you've been out here just to give listeners some context, you are a digital nomad of sorts, a nomadic
Yes.
writer,
Yes.
you would say. You're writing for a lot of big name internet places like The Guardian and also BuzzFeed, and a job you're able to do basically anywhere you want, which is kind of the beauty of having these jobs that you work online.
Yeah.
And so you, I guess, and like many people, you found yourself here in Chiang Mai.
Yeah, I came to Chiang Mai to write about digital nomads.
Yes, I remember you mentioned that. Yeah.
I wanted to do some traveling, and I realized that I'd probably been a digital nomad for about 2 years. I just hadn't gone anywhere. All my work happened on my laptop. I never went to an office. I was in the same coffee shops where I was living. So I was reading about digital nomads online. I thought, right, I'm going to go and write a piece about this. Got a commission to do it. And I spent my first month in Chiang Mai going around interviewing all the digital nomads I could find.
Oh, that's awesome. Maybe could tap into your list?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be awesome.
Although, the thing is that people move on. from the
That's
city.
true.
But now they're
We are
coming
nomads
back.
after all.
Now they're coming back. We're heading into high season, and I was here all the way through low season. And there was a point where the city was really
dead.
quiet.
Yeah.
And then around September time, beginning of September, I started to see lots of Farang, lots of Westerners turning up, lots of young guys like yourself, and little groups of people in coffee shops. And I was like, the nomads, they're flocking back to Chiang Mai for the winter.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a seasonal place.
So you find, I've spent a few months in Chiang Mai, not all at once, but I haven't seen the full cycle of how it works. So people tend to, because there's certain places they migrate somewhere else during the summer months and then migrate back to Chiang Mai.
Yeah, well, it gets pretty hot and smoky in Chiang Mai.
I've heard about that. There's a burning season.
Yeah, they burn all the crop fields.
When is that?
So that was around July.
It's in July.
It
I
was
wasn't here
nowhere
then.
near as bad as the rumors.
Yeah, I've heard
suggested.
people say they have soot on their arms and stuff. Really, you're covered in it.
It wouldn't. No, I didn't experience that at all. But I've experienced that in London. I've had days in London where I get to the end of the day and I feel like I'm scraping car fumes off my face. So major city life. On the whole, Chiang Mai is not too bad in that regard. But it's the rainy season, it's the smoky season. People head off to other venues, maybe off to India. Some people head back to America or Europe for a while. And also there's a lot of new people this year. There's been a lot of publicity about how Chiang Mai is a digital nomad mecca.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people kind of leaping out of their day jobs or whatever they're doing.
I don't know anyone who's encouraging that kind of thing.
You wouldn't be doing that.
I would. No.
Well, why not? I think particularly if you're so I'm 37 now. I feel like
You're 37. No fucking way.
No, I'm well preserved. For 37. And I feel pretty old compared to a lot of the nomads. But if you're just coming out of college, particularly if you've got some digital skills, why not come somewhere like this where it's a very low cost of living,
Yes.
you've got some money behind you, start your own business, as opposed to throwing yourself straight away into the 9-to-5 work life.
Yeah, I definitely couldn't agree more. And for me personally, I went through the kind of that traditional motions there. That was my kind of backstory. I went, studied at uni, and then went straight to a job, and then burnt myself out essentially, and said, fuck it, I'm gone. And so and then lo and behold, here I am. But yeah, I would say, we're in changing times for sure. Like the internet, really, it made all this possible. Of course, like digital nomad, this whole thing is a brand new thing. It's not something that like our parents' generation had as an option, really. And I think so. It's this generation now is completely different than anything prior because of this. For sure, the internet's just changed everything. So I agree with you, man. Like, if people are, why not come out and like try out living somewhere low cost of living, where you can, if you have an entrepreneurial mind in particular, it's a good place where you can experiment with entrepreneurial ideas with lower risk than trying to start a business, say in the US or the UK. Right?
Yeah, you've got a much lower burn rate. You're going to be spending a few $100s a month. To stay here in Chiang Mai, so that means you can give a proper chunk of time to starting your business. Yeah,
and I think it's it's a lot to ask someone who's say someone's 18 years old and they're about to enter uni, like, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Or you finished uni, now you choose your job, you're going to have your career for the next 40 years, I found myself kind of in this situation where I was just I didn't follow my passions necessarily because, there's more risk in that. Do a more conservative route, become an engineer, go and, when really, I'm not that I have regrets, but I think now I have this thought that maybe you are best served following those passions, and if you just wait places you can go where you can experiment with these kind of things. I totally support it too.
Yeah, well, if you look at the working world, even the traditional kind of corporate world now, the thing that everyone says over and over again, and this has been coming out really strongly in like the last decade, is that these companies need creativity.
Yeah.
The average lifespan of a major corporation now, I remember from my research, is about 40 years.
Really?
And that's the kind of burn that a corporation, even like Microsoft, might go through. A massive business at one point, but then things are changing and innovating so quickly.
At a rapid pace,
So even if you did your digital nomad thing and maybe your business doesn't quite take, but you're going to have picked up all of these creative skills, all of these entrepreneurial skills, been around that. There's a lot of good people to make contacts with here as well. There's a big community of entrepreneurs.
That's the other thing too. It's like, you're in a spot where there's what we talked about before, the low cost of living aspect, but you're surrounded by people that that are trying to do the same thing. So it's like inspiring. I meet people like you. We met where we're right now is the Kawe Cafe, and there's an event. This is another thing that you find in a place like Chiang Mai. It was Socrates Cafe. We literally were the group of, I don't know, what was it? There were a lot of people, like 20-some people talking philosophy.
24, 25.
And we're sitting in a circle talking philosophy. It was just, that kind of thing happens here. Maybe you could find that other places too. I'm sure there's stuff like that. But, things like that. Just you find interesting characters all around, and then you go to the co-working spaces, and I'm constantly meeting people that are inspiring me. I see what I went to a thing yesterday at Coffee Monster, and they had building an online business. I'm like, wow, all the resources I need as far as people that know shit, they're all here, all around me.
Even if you don't have a specific idea, you could come here, team up with like half a dozen other people with
easily
complementary skill sets, and just get the ball rolling.
I feel like I could just find that person with any skill set I need in a second.
Oh, absolutely.
Like there's the Chiang Mai Digital Nomads Facebook page. Are you on this one?
Yes.
It's fantastic, right? I could pose like any question in the universe to these guys, like someone knows the answer. And it's like very supportive community. I find myself too, someone asks, I know the answer, I can help this person out, It's just like, unlike anything, I've become, this is how I've become addicted to Chiang Mai. It became a place that I've never heard of to like, wait, this is home.
Well, Chiang Mai it's cool. It's a very cool city. Like my hook for the essay I wrote about digital nomads was the idea that digital nomads are like a modern counterculture. like the hippie
okay.
counterculture of the 60s and 70s. And Chiang Mai is like our San Francisco.
That's
where
an
a lot of
interesting.
people are
I like
coming
that
together.
analogy. Yeah, yeah.
But the hippies were very much about like dropping out,
Okay.
or rebelling against society. And I think our generation today are a bit more savvy, maybe. Or maybe when the hippies got older, they all went and founded the tech companies like Apple and stuff.
Yeah, I
that
think
made
so.
all
Like,
this happen.
you know, the Steve Jobses of the world. You know, yeah, he was like a hippie turned
Exactly.
CEO kind of
Yeah,
guy.
So we're not, dropping out. We're kind
Right.
of skipping to the
Yeah.
reworking how we kind of like live in the world.
I
and do
think
that.
there's, well, creativity has like, it's a process, so you have to go through ebbs and flows of the whole thing. So
True.
So you have a period of like, okay, I'm working hard on something, and then sometimes you take a step back and you go through the more hippie phase, right? Where you're just relaxing and chilling out. And in those moments, you get the inspiration you weren't even expecting. And then you come back into, working on whatever you're working on with a newfound inspiration.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I can talk about with this show, it was like that, sometimes I got myself burnt out at one point, like when I was putting myself under all this pressure to like, I need more content, more episodes, more guests. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have a guest this week. What am I going to do? And then I kind of I went to Pi for a weekend that turned in, Pi is a place that you just can get stuck in. So I got stuck there for like 2 weeks, and I just could have just let it go for a bit, and I decompressed. And now I came back to Chiang Mai, like re-inspired, and like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm seeing everywhere, like, oh, I can meet all these people and finding opportunities, and I'm very excited about doing all this stuff again,
And Chiang Mai is a place where people come to recuperate from burnout sometimes as well.
Yeah.
If you go around like the yoga studios and the meditation centers, there's lots of people who are artists or, media people or even like corporate executives, and they're taking a year out and hanging out in Chiang Mai. So you have that happening here as well.
There's a lot going. It's funny because it's like I just realized. So I'm going back to the States for the holidays, and it's been open-ended about what I will do after that a bit, but more and more I'm starting to lean towards, I'm just going to come back here. This is like I can't see myself getting bored or trying out all the things going on in Chiang Mai for some time. There's so many interesting things going on, people to meet that are doing cool things, stuff to learn, and I can't imagine a more perfect environment. God, I just have this love affair with Chiang Mai, I guess.
Well, that's clearly both of us. Right?
Yes. Well, it's funny. This comes up so much on the show. I feel like sometimes, like, oh man, listeners must be getting tired of hearing about how awesome Chiang Mai is. But it's like it inevitably just comes up so much. The people I'm talking to, like, not even intending to talk about Chiang Mai, like we just get into a discussion about, oh, here's some things I love.
Well, it's something you never hear. Like, literally, I'd never spoken to a new person in Chiang Mai and said, so how do you find Chiang Mai? And
I hate it.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's nothing special. I don't like it. This is nobody ever.
I'm leaving to go back to Pittsburgh.
Right. Yeah, I couldn't take it here. I had to leave immediately. It's like that. It's funny though, because then the digital nomads become somewhat domesticated, right? So we become less nomadic because we're just, this is the place. I don't need to.
I can hardly claim to be a nomad.
Right.
I move around so rarely in my nomadism.
Right.
Like, Chiang Mai is definitely my base. I'm going to spend some time in Cambodia in the coming year. Siem Reap, I'm told, is also a really cool city.
Man, Siem Reap is cool.
Yeah.
So I was before kind of settling into Chiang Mai effectively. I was doing more of a hardcore backpacking kind of thing, being at the top of my journey. And so Cambodia, I had a great time in Cambodia. Siem Reap, of course, was Angkor Wat. And so folks who are listening who don't know Angkor Wat, it's like it's just massive temples, massive amounts of temples, like sprawling everywhere. You can, it's pretty sweet. Of course, there's also Pub Street where you can go and have a drink and a good time. Cambodia in general, I found to be something really nicely appealing.
Yeah, I hear very good things about Cambodia.
Yeah. I may at some point, if there's a place that could pull me out of Chiang Mai, it may very well be Cambodia. I've been in talks with a friend about potential kind of business out there. And that's one thing I would say Cambodia has over Thailand is it's like a lot friendlier. to foreign business owners.
Yeah.
Thailand is like a whole pain in the ass to try to do it. Cambodia, the regular visa is a business visa, and you can keep renewing it, and they let foreigners on business.
Yeah.
So there is that appeal going to Cambodia.
It's a slightly grey area about Thailand, like whether you're allowed to do online work when you're here on a tourist visa.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing. Well, they had that raid recently
on Punspace.
Yeah, Punspace, which is one of the co-working spaces out here. And it's apparently it was okay though, from what I heard from people.
In fact, it kind of clarified that there isn't really a problem. Punspace really does look like an office when you look at it from outside.
What I had heard, and I am hearing it third hand. I wasn't personally there that day. I was there like the day before or something though, which is funny. But I guess they thought that this thing looks like an office. Here's a bunch of people, a bunch of foreigners sitting here working. It looks like they work for Punspace. So I think they thought that was going on.
Yeah, they thought it was a business.
Yeah.
And there are businesses that employ pretty much only Farang. If you open a business here through the Board of Investment, then there are ways that you can employ 100% Farang, and most businesses have to have a percentage of Thai people at least. And so there's a massive call center here that hires out personal assistant services to
VAs
Western
and
businesses.
Stuff. Virtual assistants and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got hundreds of people.
So they're Farang, they're Westerners, but they were living in Chiang Mai. So they're working for less than someone who's living in San Francisco or something like that.
Pretty much.
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't realize that was going on too.
Yeah, that's the two big ways you can come to Chiang Mai indefinitely is teaching or working in one of these businesses like call centers.
That is interesting. Yeah, I wonder though. Like I think it is something of there's a gray area about this whole thing, right? And I've read things on the internet. Like there was one article where someone in I think immigration or something, he specifically said, "Oh yeah, digital nomads can be here on tourist visas. It's okay." And from what we saw after this raid at Punspace, after they questioned everybody, and once they found out they weren't actually working there, they let them go. No one had any. And it seems to have clarified, okay, so this is fine. What's going on? But you still wonder. This is Thailand. They could decide to interpret it. I wonder, are they going to interpret a law differently someday and say, oh, well, if you're working here, working is anything. Clicking a button is working. So,
well, digital nomads are a new phenomenon.
It is. I think the laws haven't caught up yet.
When you talk about immigration into a country, most countries assume that someone coming to get something from the country, a job, or in the UK, it's sometimes people coming to claim benefits in the country. So the idea that like a lot of young, talented, educated people are kind of coming to your country and actually generating money in your country by running their businesses there and then spending that money. Yeah, that's like
you would think
that's
it's like
not
what
people think of.
It's a win. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah. So you are coming here. You're coming here, bringing money into the country. I did hear one person give me another perspective on it though that I thought about, which was at the same time, you have all this Farang here, you're bringing money, but you're also driving up the prices for the local people, right? So now getting an apartment in Chiang Mai is more expensive for local people because you've got all these Farang here that have a lot of money. So there's that aspect too, which you could,
Well, the number of digital nomads is minimal, and if you look at what's driving up prices in Chiang Mai, it's really Chinese investment.
Is it?
In the city.
Okay. I learned something new.
So there's a massive Chinese community. They're building a highway all the way from Chiang Mai to China.
All
the way across Laos in stages. So you'll be able to drive between the two very
That's
soon.
Amazing. Well, you have to I guess you have to get a visa and everything through at Laos to get through, or is there going to be a transit visa?
It may well be different, particularly for the Chinese at that point.
Yeah,
so, the Chinese are the power of this whole part of the world.
That's a perspective I never really kind of thought about. I haven't been to China myself yet.
No, I'd really love to go. I really want to go to China.
Well. Yeah, I've talked about that a lot too, where it's like it was in my sights. Until I got tired, I just need to find my home,
Well, I'm very into science fiction. A lot of my journalism, I have a niche writing about science fiction and futurism. And everything I hear about China is the future. It's already happening in China.
Oh yeah. That seems to be the trend. Although I kind of everything has changed though in this universe, right? So what rises must fall. So now the U.S. is super powerful. The U.S. will not be as powerful in the future. China is becoming more powerful. They will be for some time, and then eventually they won't be again. And I feel like these things, every big power rises and then ultimately has to fall. It's just. I agree with you. It looks, the trend at the moment looks to be China's becoming a big player in like the world.
Yeah.
The world.
But we're in a weird times globally
yeah.
as well. It's like Francis Fukuyama, the end of history. Like we can't really have a cycle of power anymore because we're just one world. Like within my lifetime, it doesn't seem like there's anywhere foreign left.
You know what?
Anymore.
I feel
We're
the
all so
same.
connected now.
Since I've been like out here traveling, it makes me kind of realize, borders are weird.
They are.
They're really weird. Like,
when you're an internet person.
Yeah, you're like, what is this thing? So I have a piece of paper, we call it a passport, and it's this piece of paper that says, well, when the Earth rotates 30 more times, I have to cross this imaginary line. Like, what? What is that? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
There's a lot of that kind of cognitive dissonance when you're primarily an internet technology person.
Right.
It's the William Gibson line, like the future is here, but it's unevenly distributed. And we're probably living in what looks like a little slice of the future.
I think so, yeah.
To
I mean,
people.
and the truth is we, folks like us, we're at an advantage. So for me being an American passport, I do have the advantage of being able to go and come to Thailand or kind of wherever in the world versus a Thai person, for example, would have a much harder time just going wherever they want, just going to the US. Yeah. And so that is certainly something that I'm on the beneficial side of it, as it turns out. But when I really look at it, take a step back, and so I complain about, oh man, this sucks. I have to like cross the border in 30 days versus someone who can't travel at all as freely. All that said though, I think the whole thing is still weird. It's like, I would imagine more of like I think of like a John Lennon kind of world, imagine there's no countries kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, why do we have countries? It's, you're an astronaut looking down on the planet. You don't see these imaginary lines. Like, I think it's just an artifact of, history, right? People, how did we get countries in the first place? Well, there were people like kings that took over land and they had subjects. And over time, it evolved from kings with subjects to so now we have democracy and all these things. But it's still an artifact of these old systems, of these ideas of power, that some organization can have power over other people. It's very, I don't know. I think in the future, I could be wrong, but I would imagine like there being a more kind of unified, with no countries is kind of and I would hope less of people trying to control other people, sort of thing. But maybe this is just my hippie John Lennon.
There's, I think it was an International Monetary Fund proposal, and they had like 7 key proposals for alleviating inequality, like global financial inequality, which is one of the main problems in the world at the moment. And like number 3 on this list was removing all immigration barriers worldwide, because as soon as people can move, that's going to start equalizing
for sure
that money straight away.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and why is it that like just because I just happen to have been born in the US, why does that put me like, why am I better than anyone else? Like, why do I have the ability to go places other people can't go? It's it's a weird, and like I said, we happen to be in the advantageous side of it, in the UK and the US, and so but it's weird. It's very weird.
Well, a UK passport is great for traveling. You only realise when you go abroad how valuable your passport is.
It's incredibly valuable. Like, I'm very grateful. I don't know to who. I thought I'm religious or anything, but it's not. but whatever it means, I'm grateful. I'm an advantage to have an American passport, but I still think it's weird. Like, why do I have this advantage? It doesn't.
Well, talking about religious stuff, have you engaged at all with Buddhism?
I actually,
Thailand?
Well, not in Thailand, but when I was in India, I did a Vipassana course. And so for folks who are listening, Vipassana is a 10-day meditation where you don't talk and you kind of just, you're with yourself meditating for 10 days. So I did this in India. Have you done something?
I've been studying meditation for 6 or 7 years. It was a big part of my reasoning to come to Thailand. Was to be in a Buddhist culture. And it definitely has a big impact on all these small parts of Thai life. Although it's very you might call it westernized or capitalist. Here there's lots of shopping malls and stuff like that that you'll recognize. But then they all have a little Thai Buddhist shrine outside. Chiang Mai in particularly, there's 200 temples. And they're all working temples with monks in orange robes who go around collecting alms in the morning.
I have another thing I like about Chiang Mai is this interesting mix of East and West. So you got this. You're in a Buddhist country, and the culture around you is immensely different than in a Western country. But at the same time, you've got all these expats here and digital nomads. So it's this great balance, I think, of the different, all the worlds coming together sort of thing. But I do also like being in a Buddhist. I like. I am attracted to Buddhism. I don't. When I did this meditation retreat, what I found to be unfortunate was, and going into it, I always viewed Buddhism. The reason it was appealing to me was it was, in my mind, like the anti-religion. It was more about looking inward. That's meditation, all these things, and that really appealed to me. That's not about a god or like anything external. It's like you look in yourself, and there's where your answers are. And I got a little bit disappointed, and maybe it's because of my own expectation. I had an expectation that wasn't met, but it was a religion. It was more of a religion than I expected it to be when I dove into it more. It had its own dogma about the reincarnation, and which why not? I could believe in reincarnation. I have no idea, but I felt it didn't mesh well when I was being told like this is a thing. Like there is reincarnation for sure, and your karma in this life is going to determine your next life. And that was just too dogmatic. It seems reasonable, like why not? That seems like a reasonable thing, but you don't know it,
Well, in the West, and I've learnt this during my time in Thailand. Like in Thailand, Buddhism is a religion, and it's a cultural identity as well. In the same way that if you're from Europe or probably America as well, you're pretty much culturally Christian. You're raised with those cultural values, and that comes with a whole set of effects upon your personality and psychology as well. And they're all there. But in the West, we kind of taken Buddhism and we turned it into Western Buddhism. We've taken the parts that kind of work for us, that we can work with, like meditation.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point.
And I really like Western Buddhism. I value it, but it's not the same thing.
You're right.
Thai Buddhism.
I like Western Buddhism as well. That's what it is. That's the thing is, for all my complaints about it's a religion after all. Oh no, but there's a lot of good things in Buddhism that for me personally, I've definitely learned from doing this meditation course. As much as I had my qualms with it, I learned immensely about myself and the world, and grew from it, and I was able to kind of learn to step inwards. And there's a lot.
Do you feel that it helped you kind of get on the road traveling and do what you're doing?
Well, that meditation course was after I was already traveling. So I started my trip in India. But I came kind of intending to do this. I'd heard about it. And I was like, that's an experience I want to have. But it helped me, I think, to get to the next level of my own personal growth, for sure.
It's something I was sitting with a group of friends who are all nomads, a couple who are running a really interesting project to help students, college-age students, do their studies in a nomadic fashion. So to come and sit in a city like Chiang Mai and do your courses online, study here, great idea. And they're building all the software for it. And we were kind of talking, we really love being digital nomads. Why doesn't everybody do this? And we boiled it down in the end to fear. There's a lot of stuff you got to let go of. You got to accept a very minimalist lifestyle.
I think that's a big part of it.
I've lived out of one backpack for 2 years, and I love that.
I do too. I love the fact that all my belongings are my high school backpack, literally.
Exactly.
So I have that and a guitar, and that's everything that I own.
And there's nothing to worry about. I don't have to think about.
When I get too much stuff, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta get rid of it. Stressful. It's stressful having possessions now. I don't know what to do.
And I found this big overlap between nomads and travelers and people who are interested in Buddhism or Hinduism.
Yeah, they do kind of go together, don't they?
Yeah. It seems to be about kind of like developing that psychology that lets you let go of stuff and live in a different way. It
does go hand in hand. I agree. There is a lot of I think fear does prevent people from, say, taking a leap. I mean, in my case, that was certainly true. I didn't earlier, let's say. That said, though, I think maybe I stopped myself from saying, like, oh, everyone should go and, go be a nomad. Like, it is great. It works for me. People like you and I. Although sometimes when I talk to some friends back home, I realize also, well, maybe there are some people where maybe they do like just kind of having a stable, living in the U.S., having that kind of life. And I guess it's not for me to say, like, oh, you have to do this thing, that I found appealing. Yeah. But what I'll say is, for people that this does sound appealing to, that are listening and they're like, oh, this sounds so cool, I wish I could do that. You hear people that say, that's what I was told when I left my job. Oh my God, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, all the
For
time.
those people that are saying that, it's like, you can, and don't let the fear stop you. So and I think that is definitely something that I would support.
Yeah. And maybe if you're struggling with the fear, try a Vipassana retreat.
Yeah,
try some meditation.
That'll be a kick in the ass.
Yeah, because you'll confront your fear when you
do that. Oh yeah. That is true. Well, I'll ask you one more question, man. And this is the only prepared question that we have on the show.
Wow. Okay.
In your life, tell me one thing that you would like to do before it's all over. Something you haven't already done.
Like one element from my bucket list.
Your bucket list, essentially, yes.
It's so interesting because, one thing that I might say is I'm here in Chiang Mai writing a book and I'd like to finish and publish my book.
Yeah.
So I think that would definitely be one item on my list. But, I'd also like to continue traveling.
Yeah.
Is that an item?
Why not?
I think,
And this is a completely open-ended question. Yeah, you can answer however you like.
Yeah, I would like to make, and I already have, traveling for me now is a part of my life.
Right.
So
it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. Whether I have, a base like 6 months of the year and I'm traveling the rest of the year, or I'm even more nomadic than that.
Yeah.
I definitely want traveling, new experiences to always be part of my life.
Yeah. I feel the same way. And whether, it may at points be more domesticated versus being a nomad, or you're staying in Chiang Mai, but it's still, it's a lifestyle, I think, of being abroad and not, I don't know if I'll ever kind of stay put really permanently. At this point, after this experience, it'll be very hard for me to really commit to forever to be anywhere.
You don't just want a house in a suburb,
right?
And a car and a commute.
No, not exactly. Nope. Awesome. Well, cool. Where can people find you? On Twitter?
If you Google Damien Walter, there are two, and I'm not the Hollywood stuntman or parkour expert.
You're not the Hollywood stuntman.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I'm the other Damien Walter.
Your handle is what? At Damien Walter?
Yeah, at Damien G. Walter.
Damien G. Walter.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And I'll say one more thing for our listeners. If we have an offer for you, as you may know, you can get yourself a free audiobook through by being a listener to this show. It's at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. You, Damien, you're a fan of audiobooks yourself, yeah?
I love listening to audiobooks whilst I'm running.
Oh,
Running's my big physical exercise thing, so I go running most days.
Nice.
And I have my audiobook plugged in so
Sweet.
that I'm picking up some knowledge.
You have any specific recommendations? A book you've listened to recently?
Actually, I just listened to, and I had read it a number of years ago, and it started me running, and it's What I Talk About When I Talk About Running by Haruki Murakami.
Oh, okay.
He's a novelist. He's one of my favorite novelists, and this is his memoir of being a marathon runner for the last 25 years. So he spends his mornings writing novels, and then he goes out, hits the road, and he does at least one marathon a year. He's done ultra marathons.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting because what he talks about when he talks about running is also writing, and how the mentality of the runner is also the mentality of the writer.
That seems right up your alley then, right?
Brilliant.
This is like Inception, though. You're hearing about running while you're running.
He has a very calm, meditative style as well. He's a very interesting writer.
Sweet. Folks, you can find that book or any others on your run, on your commute, on your bus ride, audiobook. Check it out, audibletrial.com www.podcast.com/WTE podcast. Get yourself a free one. And with that, we will say farewell for now. From Chiang Mai, Thailand, you can find us online at WTEpodcast.com. On our site, I'll have a blog post that goes along with this episode. So the videos we mentioned, all these kind of things, I'll have links to that content on our website, WTEpodcast.com. So thank you for listening. Damien, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thanks for inviting me on, Mike. It's great.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Next time on Walking the Earth podcast, Mike sits down with Pete Hillman, a veteran traveler who's been on the road for longer than Mike and I have been alive. Yes, that's right. About 31 years of travel, full time. And there are thousands and thousands of stories, and we get to only hear a few next time on Walking the Earth podcast, such as the Nile and differences in technologies that Pete didn't have, 20, 30 years ago, such as...
When we were communicating, you'd make collect calls at over $1.50 a minute. And we had something called post response. It's still there. Basically, people would send you mail, and you would arrive in somewhere like Singapore or Kathmandu, and there would be a room full of letters, and you'd spend 4 hours looking through all of them.
Before you had Skype and email.
Before all that, yeah. And it was amazing. If you found a letter that someone, a loved one had written you, and you were in the back end of, Calcutta, it was like Christmas.
Yeah, that's right. No email, no Skype. If you wanted to communicate with loved ones, you'd have to wait for a letter. And hopefully it'd be waiting somewhere for you in Calcutta. So check this out online. It will be posted sometime next week at WTEpodcast.com.